Hello, welcome back to Inside Out. My name is Kim Tree Slaughter, and I'm a board certified psychotherapist and a Maxwell leadership coach, trainer, and speaker. I make educational and personal growth videos to help you change your beliefs and actions so that you can get real results from the inside out. Today we are talking childhood conditioning. 5 childhood conditions that cause us to ignore ourselves. Please hit that notification bell and subscribe to the channel, and please share. If you want to hear more about these 5 childhood conditionings that has caused us to ignore yourselves or ourselves, let's get into it. Number 1, you were forced to finish your food. Now, this wasn't really prevalent in my house because we never really had enough to eat. But in many homes around the world, children were forced to clean their plates despite them feeling full and stuffed. Their little stomachs are full, and their parents would say things like, "You better eat everything on that plate. You ain't getting no dessert unless you eat all the food on that plate." And so many kids would just stuff themselves, and knowing that they couldn't eat anymore, they would continue to ignore how they felt to give their parents what they wanted. Number 2, this is one that I did not like, and I did not play when it came to my kids. Number 2, you had to hug your parents' friends. Now, your parents may have grown up with them, going to junior high school, middle school, elementary school with them, and it's 20 years later, and they see you like 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, and your parents are like, "Oh yeah, this is my friend from high school," and they're like, "Oh my God, is that little Kim Trey's girl? Last time I saw you, you was pregnant with her." And your mother's like, "Yeah, give him a hug." They're like, "Oh, come in." And I don't know you. I didn't go to school with you. I don't know you. I don't want to touch you. I don't want you touching me. But your parents make you feel like you're being rude and disrespectful if you don't allow those people to pinch your cheeks or to pick you up or to hug you or just to come into your space. Parents, stop doing this. Stop telling your kids or forcing your kids to hug people they are not comfortable hugging, or they're not comfortable with allowing people to touch them. Because what happens is you teach them to ignore their feelings, and when they become adults, they still have that feeling of feeling uncomfortable, knowing they don't want to do something, but they do it anyway in order to be polite. Stop. Number 3, you were taught to never question authority. You couldn't question your parents. You couldn't question your teachers. You couldn't question police officers. You couldn't question your neighbors. You had questions, but you couldn't question other people. There was this rule, this unspoken rule, that you don't talk to, you're a child. You stay in a child's place. You are seen and not heard. You know, all of those things, right? And it's like, then I feel like I want to ask a question. I feel like I want to express myself. But then this little record playing in the back of my mind is saying, you don't question authority. It's been beaten into our minds as children to never question authority. Number 4. This is another one that gets on my soul. Everything you did was disrespectful. Everything you did was disrespectful. If your parents said do something and you said, "Wow," that was disrespectful. If you had a question about something your parents did and you didn't think it was the right thing to do, that was disrespectful. If you want to discuss a situation a little bit further, if you had a question about a situation, that was disrespectful. If you had an opinion, that was disrespectful. In my house, it was, if I want your opinion, I'll give it to you. And so you had all of this internal conflict going on, and you wanted answers. You wanted people to answer these questions, the adults around you, to provide clarity, and everything you did and said that was against what they believed. And sometimes I think they just didn't know, and they just didn't want to tell us they didn't know. So they just said we were being disrespectful when they know we were not being disrespectful. We were just being inquisitive. And number 5, when you felt sad, you were not allowed to cry. When you felt sad, you were not allowed to cry. And I would hold my emotions, and there would be days when I was a little kid, I wanted to cry, and I would just suck it up. I would hold it in, because in my house, you were weak if you cried, or you were criticized, or you ugly, why you crying, why you looking like that, you looking stupid, what you crying for, you ain't got nothing to cry for, and shut up so I give you something to cry for. And it was like every time I wanted to cry or I felt sad, I had to put on this armor because I didn't want people to judge me. I didn't want to be criticized. I didn't want to be rejected. I didn't want to be abandoned. I didn't want to be ostracized for feeling my feelings, so I didn't. Okay, those are our 5 conditionings. Now, let me give you some ways, some simple ways that we can overcome these issues. Number 1, we got to remain aware of our feelings. When we're taught to ignore our feelings, it's easy for us to not feel them. It's easy for us to put them in the background or to suppress them. We have to allow them, as adults, we have to allow our feelings to arise, and then we have to validate them and allow ourselves to feel what we feel. You know how people be like, I said what I said? My new saying is, I feel what I feel. Number 2, never betray yourself in order to make other people comfortable. You know how that goes. We be in a certain place and we don't want to do a certain thing, and everybody like, yeah, let's do this. And you like, yeah, I really don't feel comfortable doing that. But you don't say it out loud, you say it in your head. And everybody like, yeah, girl, come on, let's do this. Don't betray yourself. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. One of the only ways to overcome this issue is to lean into your feelings and not be worried about what other people are going to think about you. Now, that will feel uncomfortable in the beginning, but eventually as you keep practicing, you will get it. Number 3, don't feel like you gotta be nice to people. If they make you feel uncomfortable, then you say, I feel uncomfortable. Sometimes what we do is, and see, this is how people be getting kidnapped. Because this is a side note. You know what I'm saying? When we talk about people getting kidnapped, you know, this guy approached them in the parking lot, and they be like, oh, hey, they be like, hey, how you doing? He be like, hey, you know, I lost my dog. Can you come find my dog? And you know you be having this feeling inside of you like, I don't think he lost his dog because he look a little ashy and he ain't got no dog. He can't even feed himself. How he gonna feed a dog? But you know what? We be like, all right, let me be nice. Why? Because as a kid, we were taught if we're not polite, then, you know, people are gonna judge us or people are gonna look at us or our parents in a certain way. But go with your gut. Go with your gut. If you feel something is off, lean into it. I would rather you be safe than sorry. Number 4, spend time with yourself. How do you know what you like if you don't spend time with yourself? If you don't say, what are the things I like? What are some things that I don't like? Because sometimes we will feel that, have that experience, that gut feeling and be like, I don't know. I'm just not sure. The only way to be sure is to spend time with yourself. When we're building relationships with other people, we spend time with them. We call them, we Facebook them, we Snapchat them, you know, we FaceTime them, we talk on the phone, we go on dates. We do all of these things to spend time with them in their space, to learn who they are, what they like, what they don't like. We got to do the same thing with ourselves. As kids, we're always told what we like and what we don't like, or what we're going to do or what we're not going to do. Well, as an adult, you have a right to do what you want to do. You have a right to spend time with yourself and say, this is what I like and this is what I don't like. So spend time with yourself. And number 5, ask lots of questions. Another thing is like in class, when we were kids in class or even in the house, we weren't allowed to ask questions. And so as an adult, we don't want to ask questions. We are afraid to ask questions because we think somebody's going to judge us. And so if we do many times ask questions, we'll say, oh, this might be a stupid question, but we'll preface it in a way that we're apologizing before we actually say it. Don't apologize. If you have a question, ask it. There are no such things as a stupid question. Make sure that you validate yourself first if you want validation from other people. And guess what? When you validate yourself and you love yourself, that's all you need. When other people validate you and love you, that's just extra, okay? You already got the flavor. You don't need nobody else's flavor, but if they want to give you the flavor, that's cool. Don't get all hype about it, but it's cool. So at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, where am I lacking emotionally? Where am I lacking emotion and where did it come from? Look back at your childhood. There are always clues. You know those Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs? You can follow those right back to your childhood. Like, wow, I don't like asking questions in class or in front of crowds because I think they're going to judge me. Don't just stop right there. Ask yourself, where does that come from? Where did I get that from? Why do I believe that? Why am I allowing those false narratives to reside in my head for free? We don't let nothing reside in our head for free. You got to pay rent. If you ain't paying no rent, you gotta go. So I hope this was helpful. I want you all to make sure that you're always checking back into your childhood when you are struggling in your adulthood, because sometimes there's some type of connection. There's always some type of connection. So take your time. Don't rush through life. Learn on your journey of growth and healing and restoration. My name is Kim Tree Slaughter. I hope this was helpful. I will see you all in the next video. Until then, peace.